Your DRF study can literally tip your whole program and make it fall down like a ton of bricks. I personally believe that the DRF study is actually the unsung hero of an entire GLP program. This is arguably the pivotal point. GLP studies, I know they say are the pivotal studies, but your DRF, I think, is literally what bridges your research, early stage talks, your MTDs, your PK studies, and it bridges that to your GLP study and ultimately your IND submission. And if you get this wrong, it has so many consequences down the line that it can literally upend your IND. So let's talk about why this is, right? Your dose range finding study, it's essentially your 7-day or your 14-day study, the study that gets run after your PK and before your GLP study. So what are the major things that we can do in these DRF studies to make sure that they're properly designed and that give us the data that we need to be able to design our GLP study accurately enough to have a defensible IND submission? Well, the first thing is dose selection. Dose selection is by and far one of the most important things for a dose range finding study. If you don't design a dose range finding study with the right doses, you're not going to have well-informed GLP doses. And this means that your PK studies have to be on point, your species selection has to be on point, meaning your MET ID or your TCR have been conducted and they're well executed, and you can pick your species, and that you understand essentially where your exposure margins are going to be compared to your modeled human AUC. We're going to be modeled off of your early efficacy or pharmacology studies. The next thing that's super important are your target organs. The DRF is essentially a study that allows you to see your target organs before you run your GLP study. It allows you to prepare for the IND and your narrative and your story and be able to anchor that to your exposures and your safety margins. So in your DRF, if you're missing the endpoints that allow you to understand target organs, then your design is off. Missing your endpoints in your DRF can prevent target organ ID. And I just saw this actually with a client of mine where they had a particular compound, had a pharmacology that elicited a certain response, and they omitted those particular tissues that were affected in their histopath of their dose range finding study. As a result, they thought that their dose levels were going to be higher than it actually was. They went into the GLP. They actually had mortality at their mid and high dose based on pharmacologically relevant effects from the test article that would have been caught if they had included those tissues in the histopath of the dose range finding study. So that was a major thing. Your target organ identification doesn't have to be during your GLP study. It can absolutely be during your DRF. A third and final major part of a DRF study is your TK profile. If you have miscalculated time points in the DRF, this can create an incomplete TK profile, which doesn't allow you to, one, understand exposure margins anchored to your human AUC, understand your exposure margins anchored to your target organs, and be able to come up with an adequate IND narrative that's defensible in relation to your clinical protocol. And so your TK profile, this stems a lot from your PK study, where you run an entire PK study with the right species, the right doses. You understand the time profile, you understand your clearance, your half-life, your Cmax, and your Tmax, and you use that to adequately add these TK endpoints into your DRF study. This correlates along with, one, your dose selection, and two, your target organs. So all of these things, they work together. They go back and forth with each other. And so if you don't have the right TK endpoints, you're not going to understand exposure or Cmax or Tmax in comparison with your target organs that you have, in comparison with the dose levels that you have. And this is going to create a huge gap in your DRF study that doesn't allow you to design a proper GLP study. And then this is where we get to, is that your GLP study doesn't get designed well enough to allow you to present the data that you need to the FDA to show that your drug is safe enough to go into humans. All of these pieces are important, and if any one of them is missing, that's a red flag too. That can absolutely create a gap in your submission that the FDA could potentially question, put you on an IR or a clinical hold, and need you to be able to justify that before you are able to move into the clinic. So all of these things, these can all tip the whole program in terms of a DRF study. Your dose selection, your target organs, and your TK profile. The DRF is not a warm-up. It's where the program gets shaped. So you want to make sure that you have it well designed. It's based off of data that you've run beforehand, and it supports data that you're going to get in the future. And if you want more content like this, check out my course, The Complete Guide to Non-Clinical Development. There's 12 plus modules, plus 2 bonus modules, 3 tiers for your experience. The link is in the comments.